The United States has successfully test-launched an unarmed Minuteman III missile. The ICBM was launched at around 2 a.m. on Wednesday local time from Vandenberg Air Force Base, about 210 kilometers northwest of Los Angeles, California. The U.S. Air Force stated the missile flew more than 6,400 kilometers across the Pacific Ocean and hit a target near the Kwajalein Atoll. This ICBM test comes just days after North Korea test-fired a long-range missile last week and is Washington's fourth such launch this year. Prior to this, the U.S. Air Force said the test aimed at checking the missile's readiness, effectiveness, and accuracy.
The latest test comes amid escalating tensions with North Korea, which on Friday launched a rocket that flew for 45 minutes before crashing off the coast of Japan. Earlier in July, the People's Republic tested an ICBM that flew for 37 minutes before crashing. The missile launched on Friday is said to be the most powerful of the 18 missiles North Korea has tested in 2017.
The latest missile launch drew praise from North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, who said through state media the test clearly proved the whole U.S. mainland is in firing range. Japanese news cameras purportedly captured the missile crashing into the ocean, but experts confirm if it were aimed at a lower trajectory, it could have reached Los Angeles, Chicago, and even New York. In response, U.S. and South Korean forces staged joint live-fire exercises, and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson condemned the launch, saying, "We will never accept a nuclear-armed North Korea."
I think when we say we don't accept it, what we really mean is that we're in a state of denial.
Jeffrey Lewis is a nuclear policy expert at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies.
You may see that that language changes and we move away from talking about denuclearization toward steps to try to reduce tension on the peninsula.
North Korea's missile test earlier this month put the Hawaiian Islands in range.
Because of our proximity, we are 20 minutes away from destruction.
State Representative Gene Ward wants to reopen military bunkers hidden deep inside Diamond Head to temporarily run Hawaii's government amid a nuclear attack. The tunnels were built more than 100 years ago for ammunition storage, says Lieutenant Colonel Charles Anthony with the National Guard.
So this was never designed to house a lot of people for any period of time?
No, it was designed to withstand an artillery barrage and also to unleash an artillery barrage in the opposite direction.
So far, Hawaii is the first state to issue an official emergency plan for a North Korean launch. Remembering the last attack here, no one wants to be caught off guard.
We had no preparation for Pearl Harbor. This one, we've had a slow burn. If we are sleeping now, when we have a clear and present danger, we are negligent.
In just the last few days, U.S. officials have seen increased activity of North Korean submarines. They've also seen a test of a part of a system that's critical to launch missiles from submarines. All of this in the immediate aftermath of an ICBM launch from North Korea that has rattled the world. U.S. President Donald Trump responded by saying that the U.S. will handle it, but he hasn't elaborated as to how the U.S. will handle the mounting North Korean crisis. Looking to China has been the cornerstone of President Trump's policy in terms of dealing with North Korea, but it now seems that China and the U.S. are farther apart than ever when it comes to working together to put an end to this growing crisis. U.S. officials, including the president himself, have said that China has failed to use its leverage, its economic leverage in the region, to rein in North Korea, to try and put an end to its nuclear program. At the same time, Beijing is now pushing back against Washington, D.C. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs saying that China didn't create this problem with regard to North Korea. And now China's ambassador to the UN calling on both Pyongyang and D.C. to work to lower the tension on the region. Yes, they have condemned Pyongyang for the launch of another ICBM, but they say that rhetoric from D.C. isn't helping the matter either, specifically pointing to this often repeated phrase that all options are on the table. That's something that President Donald Trump has said, that the Vice President has said, that the U.S.'s ambassador to the UN has said, and that the Secretary of State has also said.
On the subject of North Korea, the president has said, we'll handle North Korea, we're going to be able to handle them, it will be handled. In your opinion, over the next year, is it more likely that there is some sort of military conflict on the Korean Peninsula, whether that's a surgical strike or something larger, or is it more likely that North Korea will cement its place as a nuclear threat in the world?
Well, this is the ultimate question. I know it's early in the morning, but President Trump has said, I will not allow them to get an ICBM with a nuclear weapon on top to hit America. They're headed that way. The only way they're going to change if they believe there's a credible threat of military force on the table. The Chinese are miscalculating Trump, and so are the North Koreans. He's got to choose between homeland security and regional stability. Japan, South Korea, China would all be in the crosshairs of a war if we started one with North Korea. But if they get a missile, they can hit California, maybe other parts of America.
But every military expert says there is no good military option.
They're wrong. There is a military option to destroy North Korea's program and North Korea itself. He's not going to allow President Trump the ability of this madman to have a missile to hit America. If there's going to be a war to stop him, it will be over there. If thousands die, they're going to die over there. They're not going to die here. And he's told me that to my face. And that may be provocative, but not really. When you're President of the United States, where's your allegiance lie? To the people of the United States. This man, Kim Jong-un, is threatening America with a nuclear-tipped missile. President Trump doesn't want a war. The Chinese can stop this, but to China, South Korea, and Japan, Donald Trump is not going to allow this missile threat
Just to be clear, are you saying it's okay to use a military option that immediately endangers the lives of millions of people in that region?
I'm saying it's inevitable unless North Korea changes, because you're making our president pick between regional stability and homeland security. He's having to make a choice that no president wants to make. They kicked the can down the road for 20 years. There's no place else to kick it. There will be a war with North Korea over their missile program if they continue to try to hit America with an ICBM. He has told me that. I believe him, and if I were China, I would believe him too, and do something about it. You can stop North Korea militarily or diplomatically. I prefer the diplomatic approach, but they will not be allowed to have a missile to hit America with a nuclear weapon on top, and to allow them to do that is really abandoning homeland security.
But what the senator said doesn't appear to jibe with the more measured words, the more measured approach from Secretary of State Rex Tillerson.
We initiated a sustained and continued intensified campaign on what I like to call peaceful pressure, because the options available to us, I think, as all of you well understand, are limited, and particularly if we think we are operating under a short period of time. So we felt the appropriate thing to do first was to seek peaceful pressure on the regime in North Korea to have them develop a willingness to sit and talk with us and others, but with an understanding that a condition of those talks is there is no future where North Korea holds nuclear weapons or the ability to deliver those nuclear weapons to anyone in the region, much less to the homeland.
So you saw there, Ed, Rex Tillerson, much more measured. And we heard earlier from the president's harshest critic, possibly, Lindsey Graham. He minced no words that it sounds like another Korean war is in the offing. Ominous words from a senior statesman of his level. His words leaving many Americans very nervous, as you might imagine.
Well, the Secretary of State did say he's dealing with a short period of time. That doesn't sound very good.
Not good.
Let's go to Jack Rice tonight, former CIA agent. He can tell us more about this. Jack, your response to Senator Graham's comments about war, was it reckless, or it was just the absolute truth of what we're dealing with here?
Well, it's petrifying, Ed. I mean, in the end, here's what we've got. We've got more than 10 million people in Seoul, 35 miles from the DMZ. We have more than 25 million people in the Seoul metro area. And the fact is if there is war, there will not be thousands of people who will die. There will be tens, potentially hundreds of thousands. So let's be clear about the numbers if we're going to go down that path. And yeah, scary.
Jack, what about U.S. intelligence, military intelligence? The submarine activity. If the Pentagon has detected some type of ejection from a North Korean submarine, who knows whether their stealth ability is there or not. They could park off Los Angeles or off the West Coast and deliver something from a submarine. Isn't that the real concern for the United States right now?
Without question. I mean, remember, when we're talking about a nuclear weapon, this is a two-stage piece. What you need is the nuclear weapon itself, and you need the delivery system. If you could actually have a launching space that's just off the West Coast, you could literally hit any city in America. And that really is the legitimate point that has to be addressed here, and what that means to what Kim is actually doing in North Korea right now.
What does your gut tell you, your background tell you about how much we really know about North Korea, other than seeing these increased efficiency in these tests that they continue to take?
Well, Ed, here's what we really know at this point. We're looking at least a dozen nuclear devices that they have. Are any of those small enough to actually put them on the end of a missile right now? Probably not. Is the delivery system close? Yes. We've seen at least 2 tests within the last 30 days. We've seen some dozen tests since February, more than 18 different missiles since February. That's more than his father and grandfather combined. So, I mean, we know the threat's out there. We know that it's building, and we know, frankly, that it's going to get worse. The real question is, if we blink, if we push back, if we turn this into a war, what will a cornered Kim do? And what I just said at the beginning of this, we have 25 million people within 35 miles of that border. This could be a massive annihilation like we have never seen in the history of the world, and that's a fact.
Well, what if the United States were to hit North Korea with such incredible force they wouldn't be able to respond? Is that a possibility?
No. No, Ed, it really isn't, because you can't take out the entire country. Even if you took out the capital, what you're seeing is the moving around of the weapons themselves, and so you can't take out all of them, which means they would fire this. Let's be clear. What Kim will do is this is a guy who's looking at survival at this point. That's why he sees us. He sees us as an international fear and an internal fear. He's fighting both of those, and I can tell you, I think what will happen here is he has no intention of dying alone. So if he's going to go down, he is going to take as many people with him, and we need to know that. That's part of the calculus.
All right, Jack Rice, great to have you with us tonight, Jack. Thanks so much.